The next thing we're going to go about fixing is some of the styling on the other pages like single.php or page.php. So we got our blog page looking good, all the styling's applying there. But you notice if I go to, say, click on one of my individual posts and view the page just for that post, we have some styling issues. Really what's happening is our content area is not getting formatted correctly. And this is being generated, like our blog post is being generated by an index.php. Viewing any individual post by itself is generated with single.php. And just like index, it pulls in the header, it pulls in the sidebar, it pulls in the footer, but it also has its own content loop. And remember how in index.php, around our content loop, we gave some containers to dictate how that content should show or how it should behave. That's something we haven't done yet on page.php or single PHP. So I can also go and view, say, one of my static pages like drawing or coffee that I have up here. That's got a little bit of content in it. And you can see this is also messed up as well right now. The content is actually up here behind the header. We can't see it. This is something that we're going to need to fix. So let's go about changing this. I'm going to go back to my one really long post here. And the fix is actually quite simple. So just like we did with index.php, I'm going to go look at single PHP. That'll be my next target. We can see here our content loop. So it starts with PHP, if have posts, while have posts, blah blah blah. And it creates for everything that it finds. So for each post, or the one post that you're showing on this page, right now it's placing it inside an article element. It gives it an H2 with their data about the posts, all that good stuff. So really we just want to mimic our same content area that we had on index into single. So the article element where the content actually goes, we had used a class post on index.php. That was applying some styling specific to our post format by putting, so I can get back to my home page here. By putting these lines underneath each blog post. So that was specific really to my post format. I kind of just want to get the content area here. So I'm going to start just by copying my section tags here and pasting it around the loop. And remember the div class space that I used here is just to create a little space inside the wrapper container. So I'm going to want to transplant that as well. And indent this properly so I can keep track of it. Indent these. Alright. So I actually wrapped space all the way around sidebar as well in order to get it displaying properly. Now let's see what we're looking at here. I'm dealing with single PHP. So if I view my one page, I'm getting a little closer here, but my styling is definitely still off. Let's check index.php and see what other things I applied. I think I'm actually going to take the h2 on single PHP right now. It generates the title, and make that an h1 outside of this article element, because I actually wanted to take on the same style as the text that I had on the previous page that said the Apex blog. And I know that my style sheet has a rule for any h1 inside the section with the ID of content to give it those styles. So I'm going to change that. Let's take a look. Alright, that's good. Getting somewhere there. And I'll go ahead and give this article area class post and see what kind of results we get. This should carry over some of my paragraph styling to some degree. It puts a line at the bottom, which is alright. I'm alright with that with viewing one post. A larger title here. Now I remember having some paragraph issues on index as well. And what do we do to solve that? Let's see. Yes, I actually wrapped all the text here in a section with a class of body. So let me make sure I can find everything. It's giving the time, the date, and potentially an author down here with this code. So I will do the same thing as I did on index.php. Just wrap all of the content that this post could potentially be generating in a section element with the class of body. And that will just pass on that text formatting to any text that I might have in there. Good. One last thing that I did on index was to make sure that in any case that I had an image that was a little too long. See if I can make it back to my home page here. So in this case, there's more image here than there is text, and we get some weird things happening. See how the image sticks out from the bottom? It's because I don't have any elements clearing. This is floating to the right, and I don't have any elements clearing after that. So I actually just added a break element with a class of clearfix, and in my CSS, clearfix just has the property clear both applied to it, and I'm going to put that at the bottom of where this post content is being generated, just in case, like for this post, the picture is a bit too large. And it doesn't seem to have worked right off the bat. Let's give that another look. Let me check the placement of this again in index.php. I placed it inside the section under PHP, the content. Let's give that a try there. Alright, perfect. So now we've got the image is playing correctly. This line has moved down to where it should be. But what about our single pages? These are behaving odd as well. Well, let's take a look at page.php. We can really do the same thing. So you can see the page.php loop is small. It's actually really similar to what we've been working with so far. It's just a lot less code. It's only going to dump out any static content that that page has that you've input in the back end. So just like I did for index.php, I'm going to go ahead, or for index and for single PHP, I'm going to go ahead and get all my wrapping containers that I use on the page. So indent that loop so it's inside the section with the ID of content, which is what I've been using to enclose my content area. Oops, that'll be a closing section tag. And this div space I've used to create space around both the content area and the sidebar, so I'm going to close that after the sidebar. Alright, let's see if we're getting any closer. Alright, we're moving in the right direction there. This appears to be having a little trouble. Well, we'll see if we can get that fixed. This is actually set to float and is behaving in a strange way. See if we can change that. So what else do I want to happen? I want this page title to display like we've had on our single post pages, very large and underlined, and I also want to pass on styling into this body area. So looking at my loop, I'm going to change this to an H1, the title, PHP the title, in order to pass it on the styling that we want. And I'm going to wrap the content in a section with the class of body, like we've been doing for our other two pages, just so I can pass on that body styling to any text content that's generated. And again, that will just format the paragraph. Now, this text is too close to that line there. That was remedied before by that article element with a class of posts that this content's appearing in, or that the individual posts on the blog page are appearing in. So we could reuse that here potentially. I think that's probably actually a good idea. So I'll put all of this stuff, the entire loop from beginning to end, in article class post. Alright, let's indent this so we can tell. Save that. Hit refresh. And we're sort of working here. Not exactly. Still got a few issues it looks like to take care of. Let's see. Do a little back and forth comparison here. So inside post, that container typically contains some padding, which is what we're looking for. Let me visit this page here. I'm going to check out this container again. You can see that the title is actually inside article class of post. So I don't want that here. I don't want the title to be a part of that container. I want the title to be outside of that container. this, and I want it to close, we can close it in the loop now. Whoops. Since it's not, that container is no longer holding the whole loop, it doesn't include the title, we can close it inside the loop and it will be alright. Let's try this and make sure it's working. We can refine it just a little bit. Alright, Shibuya. So, in the end, I'll have more content here. I just put in one sentence so I could see something showing up. We are having, again, a little trouble keeping this in order. Having that footer showing off to the side. This is something we probably actually need to take care of. These social media icons, take care of in our sidebar PHP, because that's freaking out. But let's look at some of our other pages now. Say we visit About Me or Portfolio, and we can see that this styling, yes, is carrying over to my different individual pages as well as the blog pages, or the blog posts now. So that's good. We've got consistent styling everywhere, and you all need to do the same thing. In my case, I used whatever containers I had been using to wrap my content area on all of index, single, and page.php. Your situation will be different based on whatever containers you use to wrap your content. But you need to make sure that they wind up in all three of these files. If you have a layout that is drastically different or has different content areas, you may need an additional. So say like your About Me page is kind of crazy, you might need an about.php with a different setup and layout here. So not a huge task, but if you feel like that's the boat you're in, go ahead and ask about it soon so you can get started on that. I will fix this sidebar issue in a separate video. For now, we've got our styling consistent from page to page. Pretty much whatever page we visit, we're getting the same results, which is good. That's what we want. Sans the one styling organization issue with these floating social media icons, we have pretty much completed our transport into WordPress. The next step will be to play around with some interactivity, throwing some plugins in both via WordPress and downloading them from the internet for jQuery based plugins and attaching those to the page, doing some various interactivity as the next requirement. But otherwise, all of our styling is looking good.